What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Tro Bro Dude. Before we get into celebrating Paul Reed being back on the Philadelphia 76ers, taking the victory tour on that, I want to talk to you about our sponsors from Underdog Fantasy, the newest and best place to play fantasy sports and win big prizes. Use the promo code SLOP, that's SLOP, to get a $100 deposit match today. And if you go on Underdog right now, I did one on here a few days ago, posted it on Twitter, and of course, I missed. But I went lower on Brandon Miller's points, which hit, and I went higher on our guy Brandon Podcast points, and it sadly did not hit. He had a great game, but he did not hit higher on his points. So if you go on here right now, they have Sixers Summer League stuff on here. So I'm going to go on our guy Turkavian Smith. On Turk's points, we're going to go higher for this game against Dallas tonight at 8 p.m. And then also you can go down to Indiana, who for some reason is still playing Benedict Mathurin, who was one of the best rookies in the NBA last year, and also Andrew Nembhard, who's one of the best rookies in the NBA last year. So I'm going to go higher on Andrew Nembhard's points. If you go on Underdog today, you throw $20 on that, you can win up to $60 on that ticket. So higher on Turkavian Smith's points, higher on Andrew Nembhard's points, and sign up for Underdog today using the promo code SLOP. If you have not already, it supports the program, keeps things going over here. So I had a very funny weekend.
You met me at this is you like the end of Fight Club when all the buildings are exploding behind him. You met me at a very weird time in my life. We're podcasting at a really weird Monday in my life.
You met me at the same time that the Utah Jazz happened to offer our backup center $23 million. And I thought, for anyone who doesn't subscribe to the You Know Ball Patreon, you should. But if you don't, or if you were not available for my Saturday stream, I basically, had a conniption. I was freaking out. I thought that what happened previously was, last week I was complaining about the Sixers because I thought that them signing Mo Bamba and then Montrezl Harrell was indicating that Paul Reed was no longer going to be on the team next year. I thought that the team was going to cheap out. I thought they weren't willing to match any offers that were put out there. And then the bastard, Danny Ainge, must listen to the podcast, because I said if I were another team, I would throw a bag at Paul Reed. I would make the Sixers prove that they're willing to go into the tax to keep him. And I would make them prove that they're so committed to this plan for quote unquote cap space next summer. And then the thing that Danny is such a bastard, because so first off, a few things about this. One, I'm not even sure if this should be legal, but did you see the post from the person that was like, the Utah Jazz technically made money on this because they put the Sixers into the tax and they're not a tax-paying team.
Oh, that's funny.
So technically, the non-tax-paying teams get revenue from the tax-paying teams via the league. So they, in a roundabout way, the Sixers were probably going to go into the tax anyway, but they are now much further into the tax than they had originally anticipated.
Probably made the team a neat $500,000 bonus or something like that, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. At least a few, probably upwards of $10,000 or whatever. It wasn't much, but it certainly brought at least a little bit of tax revenue coming into the Utah Jazz. And then the other thing, the real part that you knew that it was targeted was the provision in the contract that basically said in the second and third year, in order for this contract to be guaranteed, that team needs to win a playoff series, essentially.
Yeah.
So the Jazz are definitely not going to win a playoff series next year. And the Sixers can only win one playoff series. Can't get past the second round, which is basically just twisting the knife. I was like, you're not even the Celtics GM anymore, you bastard. You really have to you already destroyed us on 2017 draft night. You just keep fucking twisting the knife over and over.
He really is the bastard of my life. He is like the absolute like king bastard of all.
Son of a bitch.
He is the perfect like Republican, like Protestant. So Protestant, he's Mormon. So that's only got one thing there, and like the Protestants to the Protestants, and then also he's just a business mindset, grindset guy. So.
Yeah.
Hats off to All-American Trader Danny. Another terrible thing to targeting poor Josh Harris, who I feel bad for.
Exactly.
He's just a nice guy. Who's
know that he's struggling financially right now because he just bought the Washington Commanders, and you do this to him. Yeah. You do this to our guy Josh Harris.
This is so bad, and like. The threat of having Daryl was before I do this joke. Paul Reed had an NFT picture, right?
I think he did. Yeah. I don't even know if Paul Reed knows what NFTs are.
Paul, you risk taking one of Daryl Morey's fellow crypto guys away from the team. So that was his only misstep. Yeah. Daryl Morey, he has purchased so many apes. All his apes gone now he's just he's stuck being the GM of the team. So sorry to Daryl and his lion. What were the lion cryptos? I remember the apes, but what were the lion? I can't remember.
I don't know that. Yeah. I only remember the digital apes.
Yeah, it's the slurp juice. You can slurp juice multiple apes. All my apes gone. Fuck, that was funny.
What a time.
What a time.
I don't know if you missed this, but Daryl went on to race Ricky Sanchez at one point and was like trying to pitch them on NFTs because they were like, Daryl, what is this? And like he basically abandoned it like halfway through, and because he kind of realized that they're stupid. I feel like he is like, you believe in like fungible things, right? And he's like, yeah, but it's just literally a picture, and like you're paying a lot of money for it. And he just completely bailed on it like halfway through the pitch because they were just making fun of him for how stupid NFTs are.
Speculative. You don't understand. We're out of markets. Like we need something else to speculate on. And I need more stupid people in here. So stop being smart and just buy them.
It always ends well when you speculate on things that have no value.
Yeah. I think it's just gross when like people just make those weird, like gross American purchases of things they don't need. Anyway, Trails into Reverie, the new JRPG from Neon Falcom has just come out. I'll be sure to have a review for you guys later in the week as soon as Trill goes to the bathroom. But that is what I'm doing with my life right now. So,
well, I can't really talk because I just bought a Mario game that I had already played on Wii U, and then they ported it to Switch. Super Mario 3D World, and I hadn't played it in like 3 years, and I was like, you know what? I want to play that game. So I bought it at Target the other day, and
let's go.
I'm currently playing it for the second time in 3 years. So
real gamer hours here for
That's right.
For YKB. That's right. Speaking of gamers, congratulations to B-Ball Paul though, who is officially up out the mud.
He is out of the mud.
Yep.
He has signed. It's funny because obviously. I feel like Daryl must have been kind of scared for what would happen if they didn't match. I'm assuming he was in Josh Harris's office with him pleading, please, Josh.
My house is on Google Maps. We can't do this. We cannot do this right now. It was like if we had gotten a heads up on the Marcus Smart thing. Well, like if the Marcus Smart trade was like a qualifying offer, you guys got
Marcus Smart was like this. But also, if Marcus Smart was like the 7th best player on your team, or like the 8th best player,
but it's like it's kind of like the yop of a fan base who is like sick of being cheap and not putting a good team around Joel Embiid, because you laid it out beautifully. It's like there's literally no reason to not do this besides being cheap. Like that is the only reason to not do this.
And there were a few people arguing like, well, you shouldn't pay a backup center that much, and I'm like, okay,
it's not that much.
First off, 5.9% of the cap this year.
Yes,
the cap goes up again next year, so it will be even less of a percentage of the cap next year. And then on top of that, I went and I did the math. It's literally with the new spike in veterans minimums on this new deal that they just signed for the CBA, it's 2.5 veterans minimums. So the idea that you were like going to be able to replenish this position with a veterans minimum guy, like that wasn't going to happen. It's only to save tax dollars because you really have no way to replace the production that Paul Reed was going to bring you. And do we actually get some real slop here?
No, I don't think
okay,
so.
No. Oh, God, Woj.
Woj is
doing
Woj
coach hirings. I don't care about that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But so basically you would not have been able to replace Paul Reed unless you think Mo Bamba's, just as good as Paul Reed. I think Paul Reed's better than Mo Bamba. I think that this was essentially the team's way of solidifying the backup position behind Joel, something that we've been chasing forever. I literally had someone tweet at me and be like, oh, so you're telling me that the difference between the Sixers winning a title or not is Paul Reed? And I'm like,
maybe.
I was like, if Joel Embiid had this version of Paul Reed as his backup in the other years when Joel Embiid we were dominating during the Joel Embiid minutes in the playoffs, this was the first time in the playoffs, like ever, we have won the backup center minutes. And Paul Reed had a +5 net rating in the playoffs. Now, some of that is like weird, wonky stuff that can happen. But like he started for a game in the Celtics series that we won. He was, as the year went on, he got better. I've talked about this time and time again. There were 4 players in the NBA last year that got to the rim 8 times per 100 possessions. And the other 3 guys that shot at least 70% at the rim were Zion, Giannis, Clint Capella, and then the 4th one was Paul Reed. So, like, the idea that there isn't any more upside in Paul Reed, I just don't agree with that. Even though he is a little bit older, he's like 24 now, I think that he could continue to get better. I think that with a new coach, hopefully he will continue to progress and solidifying those minutes when it's not just a backup center you're paying for here. Because we know Joel is going to miss at least 2 playoff games every single year.
That's the thing, is it's like you're talking about a guy who's like traditionally it has been injured, has a history of injuries, and B, his defining thing is like in the playoffs he gets fucking gassed.
Yeah.
So having a guy who can give him a break without the wheels totally fucking coming off is actually really fucking important to the Sixers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more importantly, like, I don't think that he has to just be a 5. Now, the one thing that I will say is that, like, there are some Sixers fans that go a little far with it, that were like, he should start at the 4 over PJ Tucker or Tobias Harris. And I'm like, there really aren't any 4s left in the NBA who don't shoot 3s. Like, it's like, like the 4s left in the NBA that are starting 4s. They all can space
Collins,
the 4.
Who has like no trade value.
John Collins, who has no trade value, and at least at one point was a 40% three-point shooter.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, the only comp that we could come up with on Twitter the other day when we were discussing this was Jared Vanderbilt. And Jared Vanderbilt is a better perimeter defender. And he can play, he's kind of similar to Paul Reed in that he can play the 4 or the 5 in some small ball lineups. But I actually think that the lane to playing Paul Reed in these 4-5 lineups is probably more so with Mo Bamba or with PJ Tucker at the 4.
Yeah.
And then you can play Paul at the 5. Like, I think having a spacing 5 like Mo Bamba will allow you to play Paul Reed more at the 4. One of the things that Bamba really struggles with is defensive rebounding. Reed is one of the best rebounders in the NBA. He's got crazy steal and block rates. If he could ever even just cut down on his fouls, cut his foul rate in half, he's going to give you 15 minutes of competent backup center play in the regular season, possibly be a spot starter when you need in the regular season. And then also there is potential for him not only to play the 4 sometimes with Joel at the 5, which is, not something you want to do a lot, but playing him at the 4 alongside PJ Tucker as a small ball 5 or with Mo Bamba as a spacing 5. So, like, I think that it's going to give them lineup versatility, to be honest. I think that Reed is, he's still young enough that he might be able to reach another level as an offensive player. I think defensively, he just needs to cut down on the fouls. And I think that, once again, it would have only been saving ownership money. There's really no way to ensure that you can have solid backup center play with veterans minimums. Like, the large majority of backup centers are veterans minimums. I get that. And that it's like largely replaceable, but the large majority of teams don't have their best player as a center who gets injured a lot. So it's an insurance policy. It's something that kind of will work for the regular season and for the playoffs. And worst case scenario, if everything goes off the rails and Paul Reed regresses and he's not as good next year, that probably means the Sixers aren't going to be in a great spot, and it means they might lose in the first round of the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. And if that's the case, then the contract isn't guaranteed because of this thing that Danny Ainge put in there. So all things considered, I'm glad they brought him back. I think it makes all the other moves totally fine. Like, I think it makes the Bamba signing look better because now Bamba's going to be either play with Paul Reed, or he's going to be the emergency center, the third string center, the guy that isn't relied on night to night, and then he could be the backup on nights that Joel takes breaks, and it makes everyone better. And now you never have to play Montrezl Harrell, which is like, I
forgot they signed Montrez too, like, because that happened like while I was like in the middle of mowing the lawn and I was like very hot, and I kind of thought I like hallucinated that. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. He opted out of his player. Why would he come back? Why would he resign with the Sixers after that?
So from what I've heard, the way that they justified that was that he opted out to see if there were any other offers on the market, and I think we all know how that went. We literally, when he opted out, we're like, is he going to go to the Euro League? Like, why is he up? Like, he's not an NBA player anymore, really. Like, outside of garbage time and maybe, once again, emergency situations, like, okay, Paul Reed and Joel Embiid are both hurt, or Paul Reed's in foul trouble and Joel Embiid is hurt. Like, maybe in those situations you can get away with paying Montrezl Harrell for a 5-minute stretch. But in most situations, he's not playable. From what I've been explained to, it gave Montrez more money because he signed a 2-year deal with the Sixers before this new CBA when the vet minimum got higher. So it jumped up a little bit. And the cap hit was, for some reason, was $1 million less for him signing this 1-year vet minimum as opposed to him opting into that second year of the vet minimum.
I think it's because the league, to like balance out vet minimums and the money going up with expirings, the league will subsidize veteran minimums to make them. Yeah. So like, I think after a 2nd-year deal, you're no longer technically on the veterans minimum once you go to that 2nd year. So I think it's more money than that. So like the league is no longer subsidizing, because otherwise everyone would just sign like year 3 or year 4 players. Like no one would ever sign like a year 10 min guy unless they were like really, really good. So because it ends up being like $4 million versus like 2, it's like a $2 million difference. Like
that makes sense
for the same player. Yeah.
So, because I was actually thinking, like, I was looking around the league like, shit, if they lose Paul Reed, as many people have said, they're like, I'm sad that we don't get to see your rant. If they let Paul Reed walk, if you want a preview of what my rant looked like, go to the Patreon. The other day when I thought they were going to let him walk, I was freaking the fuck out, but that thankfully didn't happen.
Troll was like law-abiding citizen. Like, over the weekend.
I literally described it as Michael Douglas and falling down. Just like goes into the fast food restaurant. I fucking pulls out the gun. I was like losing my mind, dude. I've had it with this shit. I'm stuck in traffic. But God. So today the Sixers also announced they officially signed Patrick Beverley and Mo Bamba and introduced them at a press conference. Once again, there aren't many third centers in the NBA that are better than Mo Bamba. Second centers, I was like, shit, I'm worried they're gonna have to rely on him too much. Now you have a guy that, for spot occasions, maybe he has, I'm not optimistic, but maybe he has some upside. Like we've said, He's one of the few guys in the NBA that can protect the rim and shoot threes, but
he needs the KOC stink washed off him. He needs KOC to turn on him, and then he will make a leap.
That's a good point. He needs, if he would just drop the fandom of Mo Bamba. Well, I'm hoping that he spends his last 2 years with the Sixers before he goes to work for Bill at the Ringer, Mo Bamba.
Yeah, right. The KOC thing is kind of like the It Follows monster. like if KOC endorses you, like Brandon Miller is at Summer League now, like shooting up a shot and turning around, and it just the monster is like outside the gym peering in at it. The KOC endorsement monster. Killian Hayes is just dead.
I was gonna say it broke Killian Hayes' hip.
Yeah.
His rookie year.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm hoping that we don't have to see too much of Mo Bamba, but if we do, maybe there is some, I don't know, maybe there's some untapped upside. So Paul Reed is back on the Sixers. Everything is good, folks.
It's fine.
It very, very much redeemed the Sixers offseason for me because I was about to lose it. I don't think, I mean, they can't be done. They still have 2 open roster spots. They only technically have to fill 14 if they get super cheap like they did last year and just do the prorated vet minimum for the 15th spot, which I think, by the way, that should be taken out of the CBA if it didn't already in this new round.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they let teams take 14 players into the season and then sign a prorated vets minimum halfway through the year to save money? Like, they should remove that.
Yeah, that needs to go away. I mean, I get that, like, that teams want to like be flexible to like make trades work and stuff and do 2-for-1s and
but they never do it. It's just a lie. They literally sold. This is the reason why they cut Isaiah Joe for flexibility, and then they signed, and then it turned into them signing fucking Dwayne Dedman, who was fucking washed, and they just wanted to save money on the prorated vet minimum.
Jesus, I didn't realize that like that wasn't even they carried 14 and they cut Isaiah Joe. Carried 14.
They had 16 players, and everyone assumed they were cutting Charles Bassey. And I was like, first off, I didn't even want them to cut Charles Bassey because I wanted them to not sign Montrezl Harrell, which they then did. I predicted all of this. When Montrezl Harrell, I was like, we're going to sign Montrezl Harrell, and we're going to have to cut Bassey. They cut Bassey, and at the same time, they announced that they cut Isaiah Joe. And then when their reasoning was the same thing that I've been complaining about this whole offseason, which was like this idea of like flexibility, which is just almost always just owner bullshit. And like executive speak for we're cutting corners wherever we can, essentially.
Well, I guess that's my thing is like, how much flexibility are you getting? Like, not like it's like $1 million. You know, like what was the idea? Were they like that close?
They were dodging the tax. Yeah, they were dodging.
Okay.
Last year they were dodging the tax, and that's why. So when they did that, and then they dumped Matisse Thybulle for Jalen McDaniels to get under the tax officially, because they saved like $3 million on that deal to get under the tax.
Mm-hmm.
And during that press conference, Daryl Morey said the reason we're doing this is to avoid the repeater tax for this year, because if you do it multiple years in a row, it would have been 3 years in a row. I think they were paying the tax at that point, and they would have had to pay into the repeater. And he said, if you want us to keep the team together, then we have to dodge the tax, essentially. So this will help us keep the team together. So keep in mind, I'm thinking about that press conference when we're about to let Paul Reed walk for nothing. And we also are probably not going to extend James Harden, which tears the team down anyway. So, like, once again, I'm losing my mind over here because I'm like, this is just a web of lies and bullshit. But then at least bringing back Paul Reed, and for now we still haven't heard anything about the James Harden thing, just his teammates in public begging him to come back, but that's kind of it right now.
I wanted to get your feedback on the Sixers and Daryl Morey like gaslighting everyone. Like, what? Why were you guys? We were always gonna match this. It's fine. You're being crazy right now. We were never gonna do that.
The social. All right. First off, I want to put it on the record that I support the Sixers social media account. Whoever runs it, the social media manager, solidarity with them, because if the team should pay for your therapy, for the things that you have to see in the mentions and the quote tweets. And I say this as someone who has a fairly popular Sixers Twitter account. It's hard to not internalize some of the negativity sometimes because people are so fucking negative and mean and annoying, and just like sometimes you just have to log out. If that being their full-time job and them having like 1 million people that follow them, that I know the team doesn't pay for your therapy because they're cheap as shit, but they should pay for your therapy, because I saw some things in the replies and quote tweets to every post they did until they matched on Paul Reed.
I will say though, when you're a giant like gold check, formerly blue check account, you get a lot more like normies being like, awesome. Like, I hope good luck, Paul. Like,
I guess I just don't see those.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have that. We have like the feral. We have the hogs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, as I say, the feral beasts of who are just so mad. Fuck you fucking asshole!
Yeah.
How dare you say that about Marcus Smart? He's dog shit. Kristaps Porzingis goated.
I literally have. I'm not exaggerating. If you reply to my tweets and I don't respond, don't take it personally. I mute every single tweet the second after I send it now, and then if I see a tweet, it's because it comes up on my timeline. It's because I'm literally like, the amount of people that just yell at me all the time, I can't deal with that. I can't imagine what it would be like having tens of thousands of people doing it.
If I don't reply to your reply, it's very personal. I don't think it was funny and I'm offended. Know that.
You should delete your account.
You should delete your account. It is a referendum on how I personally feel about you.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think that everything it's looking up for the Sixers. I think
one of us.
Well, they still have to figure out this James Harden situation, which, like I said, Patrick Beverley and Joel Embiid are begging him to come back. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't think that James Harden really cares in the same way that some other people might. I think that we know his history of situations when he's not engaged and he wants out of a team. We'll see how much longer this goes on. I would imagine the Damian Lillard domino has to fall before they even kind of talk about Harden trades, because it seems like this is, I would call it the great sloppage of 2023. The stoppage that we've gotten on slop recently because of Damian Lillard and, him refusing to ask out, and Joe Cronin having a press conference today and basically saying, yeah, sorry, we're not trading you to the Heat unless the offers are better. So that one's going to go on for a while, I'd imagine. I think that it's going to hold up most transactions. Yeah.
I'm respecting our soldier, Joe Cronin.
Joe,
you're doing God's work.
You are the one.
You're him. You're him.
You were him.
Don't let anyone tell you different.
You're our last hope, Joe.
Yeah, Joe he's like Leia slipping the disc in R2D2 as Pat Riley stomps down the adrenochrome hallways in his little Vader outfit and then takes a nap.
Look, it's trade deadline day.
Yeah, very tired. I know that's like not true. Like, Heat fans get so mad. Like, that wasn't true. That was an Onion article. And it's like, yeah, but it's
in my soul, though.
Yeah,
in my soul, it's true.
It's funny. So sorry.
Exactly.
It's real to me now. Sorry. Why does it being true have to do with me claiming it's true?
Exactly. Yeah. I want it to be true, so therefore it is.
Yep.
So let's talk about a few moves that are probably being held up due to this sloppage of 2023, including your Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown has still not said. It's weird because 2 weeks ago, when we did our stream for free agency kickoff, you were like, it's kind of weird they haven't even announced anything about the Jaylen Brown extension.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, no, it's not that big a deal. It's not going to, it will take time, whatever. Well, we're here 11 days later and nothing has happened. So, Sam, how do you feel? What's going on?
I don't know. I mean, so here's some things that are objectively true, okay? Because the company line right now, the reporting from Jared Weiss and Adam Himmelsbach and These are stories that are coming out within like an hour or two of each other. So
Coincidence.
coincidence. Those are saying, okay, like they're like negotiating this stuff. Everyone's like very confident this stuff's going to get done. They're negotiating about, no trade clause, player options, some of this other stuff. So a couple of things with that. One, there is no such thing as negotiating for no trade clause right now in Jaylen Brown's contract. He could if this contract expired and then he signed a new one, he could get a no trade clause. But as of right now, no, he cannot extend and get a no trade clause.
He also hasn't even been in the league long enough. You need to be in the league for 8 or 9 years.
8 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's why it would need to be through this next, one. So, so here are things. Here's what can be negotiated. Year one salary between 30 and 35% of the cap. 35% of the cap being that Supermax. Remember, and the annual salary changes, which can go up by 8% or down by 8% on year to year. That's the increasing and decreasing scale. The final year option, player, team, or just a straight deal. There's some like incentives, and then the trade bonuses. Usually, that 15% trade kicker is usually what like the big guys get. So, there's no contract length. It's 5 years. That's the thing with this extension. It's got to be 5 years, and there's no trade clause. So, in order to like indulge this, you have to believe that the Boston Celtics, who had Jaylen Brown right there with them this entire time, and Jaylen Brown never did, like no one did anything whatsoever because that's illegal. No one is ever talking to. Why would you talk to your second best player on the team? That's illegal. That goes against the collective bargaining agreement.
Not allowed to do it.
Yeah. And also it's like you can't now everyone's saying like you can't sign this stuff right now. Like why would you sign that? You know what they do though is they announced that they agreed to it. And it's very fucking weird that it hasn't been announced that it's been agreed to. Like some of that stuff that I just listed off does get negotiated. A lot of that stuff for a player of Jaylen Brown's caliber does not get negotiated. It is going to be a plus 8% every year. It is going to be the final year option is probably going to be a player option unless you do a really good job. But usually the players get what they want, like even if they're just an all NBA guy. And like, so what's really you're left negotiating is how much money his year one thing is and the incentives. And I'm sorry, unless Jaylen Brown has a real fucking problem with the amount of money that you're offering him, it would be done by now. And it's not done right now. So that tells me you're not offering him the amount of money that he wants and that you're not supermaxing him straight up. Like, I do not think if this gets signed, I'm not saying it won't get done, but like something like tenuous is happening. This is not a smooth negotiation that's going on behind the scenes. Like something that they're quibbling over this and that. There's like it would be done by now if there were just minor quibbling things. Yeah. There is a legitimate barrier somewhere in there.
We talked about this off the air, and it's basically like the modern NBA players get their money, and then if they want to go somewhere else, they just ask out later. Like that's how these things work now, because they know that in order to maximize their dollars, which by the way, Jaylen Brown didn't even get a max contract last time around.
Yeah.
And even at the time of signing that contract was kind of, people were making fun of it because of the fact that Jaylen hadn't really popped to the level that, people thought that he did to get that level of contract.
It kind of went like the DeAndre Hunter contract when that got
exactly.
Like a similar deal. Like
Jaylen obviously outplayed that contract.
Yes.
And now wants to make the most amount of money he possibly can, which he absolutely should. Yeah. And like you said, he's trying to maximize his money. And it's not to say that this contract isn't going to be signed, but there's clearly some level of disagreement on whether it should be that 30% or that 35% number. And if there is some sort of compromise that they're coming to, I think that is something that happens in these negotiations a lot. A similar one was, do you remember the Rudy Gobert contract a few years ago, where Rudy got a quote-unquote supermax but it wasn't really the full Supermax in the same way that like Nikola Jokic got. Where it's the most amount of money you could possibly give him, plus if he makes X, Y, and Z, which obviously he did and hit on all of his stuff, he makes the most amount of money possible. So the reason I say this is because I think that it's possible that you come out of these contract negotiations and everyone's like, it's all good. No worries. Everything's chill. Don't have to worry about anything. And after Jaylen didn't really get paid the first time, which, by the way, I do think in retrospect, it ended up being a good contract, but at the time it wasn't. So it's not like the Celtics really ripped him off.
Yeah. He wasn't getting ripped off like the first time around.
But he didn't get the full amount of money he possibly could.
That's true. That's also true. He did not get maxed. Yeah.
And then Kevin Durant conversation happens last year. And Bill at least talks about it enough on his podcast that I think that there might be some truth to the fact that he's like, we just made the finals. Why am I in trade conversations kind of thing, even if it is for Kevin Durant.
I believe that that's true, that like Jaylen was upset, but I do take umbrage with Bill's claim that like they should have come out and said that they weren't going to trade him. It's like, that has no fucking effect. You're agent brained again. No one cares what agents or the front offices say. They lie. Yeah.
You should only come out and say we're definitely going to match any contract on our backup center, because that's the normal thing to do. But the reason I say this is because Jaylen. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that it could get to a level where it's a snowball effect of he feels like he's being disrespected and undervalued by the organization, and that even if he signs this extension 1 year from now, he could feel differently. Is my whole point on this.
Well, I guess just the Celtics seem to be trying to hit the absolute worst case scenario where you re-sign Jaylen Brown to a number where his trade value goes down. And then you piss him off bad enough that you have to trade him. This is what I'm like worried. That's what I'm like really worried about. I mean, once Marcus Smart went out the door, my little heart ripped in half, and I was like, all right, fuck it. I mean, I guess, Yankee mode. Let's go. Basketball Yankees. Like, let's just do whatever to win, So
that's how I felt about the Paul Reed thing too, where I was like, we now have 3 players. If Paul Reed walked, we would have 2 players that we drafted on our team, Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. You need to have guys that you drafted and you watched come up in order to enjoy it sometimes.
Yeah, I just all right. I mean, fuck it. If I have to root for Kristaps Porzingis, sure, trade Jaylen for Dame. Who fucking cares? At that point, you've already traded Smart. The ennui, or not the ennui, the what's the word I'm looking for? The catharsis that comes with that is out the window. They're fucking thrown in the mud at this point anyway, so who cares? But I don't know. It seems like the Celtics are just doing fucking everything wrong, and it's just they keep saying we're trying to this all depends on the moves and this Grant Williams trade getting finalized. Well, why the fuck would that have anything to do with it?
It's not an order of operations thing here. It's not
nothing to do. You're just tricking some of the more illiterate fans with that.
Yeah.
And that's what's really setting my alarm bells off, is how out of the way the front office is going to leak. It's fine. Don't look at me. It's fine. Nothing is going. I think something is going on. It could 3 hours from now they could be signed. Jaylen could come out and say, "I love this. I love being a Boston Celtic for life. That's awesome." I'm still going to be very alarmed going into the season because I know something happened in these negotiations. Maybe it doesn't matter, but something acrimonious is going on, or this thing would be signed by now. So
yeah, I mean, maybe I would just be a bad GM, but I do believe that some of the stuff that has come out with the Sixers recently that's really pissed me off, where I'm I just think that you're almost always better off taking care of your guys that you want to have around.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the organization wants to trade Jaylen Brown, or in the Sixers case, Tyrese Maxey, unless they're getting back a top 12 guy or whoever it is. And in that situation, okay, I can understand, you're going for a championship, blah, blah, blah. But the odds of you actually nailing that kind of trade are pretty low, generally speaking, even if you're open to it. And especially now, if Jaylen even hit let's say these negotiations completely fell apart and Jaylen came out and was like, hey, I want to trade actually. Well, pretty much everyone's already kind of made their moves. Like Houston's somewhat off the table now. Like I don't really think that's a realistic spot. By the way, did you hear Bill talk about on his podcast today? Well, okay, so
I heard the Jabari stuff. I didn't get all the
I tweeted this, but it was basically like he was talking about like, we know, me and you, Russillo, we know we shouldn't overreact to Summer League. But then he was like, like one of the most realistic trade possibilities could have been Jaylen Brown for Jabari Smith in the 4th pick. And I'm like,
which by the way, I would have committed Harry Carey on the spot if that trade were announced.
Yeah.
Like I would have kneeled down wherever I was, taken the knife out, one across, one diagonal, one across again, and bled out right there. Because that I can't do another 10-year rebuild, and that's what we're signing. Anyway.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that we both even said, like, if Scoot's involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Because we think that Scoot's probably going to be within 2-3 years good enough. Like, even if you like Amir Thompson a lot, Amen Thompson a lot, it's probably going to be a process with him. I think it's probably good he goes to a team like the Rockets where expectations for him are a little bit lower. He could be a backup point guard to start. And Jabari, yes, he's dominating Summer League. And like, honestly, that's a great thing if you're a Rockets fan. You want to see that because I'm about as big as a Jabari skeptic as you can get. And Jabari was so bad in the first half of that Summer League game that I was like, oh my God, is this guy just a bust? Like, is he just not a guy? And of course, you're overreacting to, whatever. But like, usually when you have second-year guys come back to Summer League, you want to see them dominate. And then for the last 6 quarters he was at Summer League before they pulled him, he was the best player in Summer League. So that was encouraging for sure. But also just think about it like this. If you put Jaylen Brown in Summer League, he would look like Michael fucking Jordan.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like even with Jaylen's shortcomings, like he would be averaging 80 a game. Like this is where I think that like as I said, we were open to these ideas behind like a Scoot trade package or like some other ones we talked about that might have been more reasonable, whether you're swinging for a better star like Dame or whoever. Okay, I understand that. But like the 4th pick of Jabari Smith for Jaylen Brown, when you're in the Celtics position right now, would be a nightmare.
Yeah, that's like just insane. It's just Celtics fans are some of, again, I really owe a debt to the YKB listeners for opening my eyes to the plague that, because I'm too close. I can't see it all the time. Celtics fans are the biggest fucking babies in the entire world. So, no, it's too hard to what this team is cursed because they only make the conference finals every fucking year and get to game 7. Like, shut the fuck up. And it just gives me an equal and opposite psychosis where I'm just like, I'm going insane that we're like semi-detonating our team that always fucking is within a stone's throw of winning the East because it's, I don't know, it's kind of annoying that Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, beat us. Like,
and went fucking super cyan mode.
Yeah, cyan. Yeah, there we go. Let's go.
But no, I actually I had this conversation with Rob Flom, who we've had on some pods and streams, who covers the Clippers, and we were talking about it the other night, and I was like, would you rather be a Celtic? Because I talked about it like from like the Eagles perspective, because the Celtics are kind of in that mid-2000s Eagles.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
Period right now, where
the
like
McNabb Eagles.
Yeah, they made it to the NFC Championship game 4 times. Yeah. They made it to the Super Bowl. They never won anything. But I still, even with, and it's easier for me to say this now because they won the Super Bowl in 2018, but even with all of that, it was an awesome 10 years to be a fan. Like, yeah. Like I'm like, my dad would talk about the Eagles like they were the fucking Detroit Lions. Like when he was growing up, they were just not as good as they were when I was growing up. So like I got to see them do this. And the reason I bring this up is because I was like, would you rather have been the Celtics over the last decade who make it to 5 conference finals, the NBA finals once? They're in the playoffs almost every single year post KG and whatever trade. You're always competitive. You're always good. Or would you rather be the Lakers before this year when they made it back to the conference finals, where the Lakers are bad pretty much every year except for the one year they make the finals and they win it?
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of think I'd rather have that decade. Like, I guess it would be different as a Sixers fan because we've never won since like the 80s. But like, if you're a Lakers fan, what does a title even mean to you? Like, if you're a Lakers fan, like you have like fucking 100, like, and they win every 10 years or so. So like, I don't know. My thing was like the sustained success thing. If you're making it to conference finals and finals, is a little bit underrated, even if you never win a title. Was my whole thing here.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter. I feel like I'm going insane because like I feel like I've like been on the corner as like the most positive Celtics fan for like 5 years.
Yeah,
and I'm just like
the smart trade broke you.
Overnight, everyone's treating me like I'm like an insane person. It's like, and I'm like, I just don't. I am, but I'm more sane than the rest of them, though. on the spectrum, you see. So
the whole thing. I'm an informed insane person.
Yes,
okay?
Exactly. Tell me where I've been wrong. I've had the pulse of this team better than I said that they were going to turn it around that 1 year correctly. I said that they were going to fucking blow the 3-0 lead, come back and then blow Game 7 against the Heat.
It's true. You even said going into the playoffs this year, you even said during the Sixers series, you're like, I don't feel good. Like in a way that you're usually pretty honest about, like, I think we're just going to win, like, easily. Yeah.
I'm not afraid to be a shithead and like get egg on my face. That's why I'm out here saying the Dame thing with the Heat. If they keep Tyler Hero, it's going to be a nightmare for them.
Well, also I want to point out that
could backfire horribly, but I'm sticking to it. So
of course, and people have said like, oh, you shouldn't overreact to summer league. You shouldn't be reactionary when it comes game to game, week to week, month to month in the NBA. And then I'm like, this wouldn't be fun if we weren't. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
You want me to be measured for everything? Go listen to fucking athletic podcast or something. Yeah. Like, this is just not. I like overreacting to things because it's fun to overreact to things. Like it is more fun when you have insane opinions that are fucking off the wall. Yeah. But
exactly. Yes. I'm so down bad that like the Tyus Jones, Malcolm Brogdon trade is going to feel like Banner 18 to me. Like, I'm just going to be like, yes. Someone will pass the ball on this team. Let's go.
Chiodo's anti 9/11 will be the Tobias for Buddy Hield trade or whatever happens.
The undoing. It's like 9/11 happening in reverse. Towers.
All the people coming
out. People. Jesus Christ. We have to cut that one too. That one's probably a little too, especially for a non-Patreon.
No,
oopsie,
we're letting it fly.
49-27. Everyone remember?
God.
Anyway,
no, that one's flying. Let's move on from the Sixers and Celtics talk to talk about something that will probably never happen.
Let's go.
So I only have to bring this up. So. I know I'm breaking my own rules in these last 2 weeks talking about Raptor slop way too often. But the only reason that I'm giving validity to this is because the people who are reporting it, and I was Charlie Brown with the football before, but dropping dimes tweeting this is a whole new level to me. Because by the way, if you follow dropping dimes on Twitter, make sure it's dropping dimes 20 and not dropping dimes 50 or 29 or whatever. There are many fake accounts. There's one real account and he deactivates every time after he tweets. And today he popped up and dropped a piece of slop for the first time in really like a week at this point. Like he's just been posting like weird stuff about like Peach Jam and like up and coming like high school prospects for some reason. So
we all know why.
Yeah. We do.
Well, okay.
Anyway. But today he tweeted and he said something along the lines of Pascal Siakam, I hope you like the city where Migos or where Quavo and Lil Baby are from or something like that, which is honestly hinting at Siakam ending up on the Hawks. So I just, the more I think about this, the more I'm just like, I just kind of hate this for the Hawks. Like, what is the point? Like, it's like you're trying to get the most talent possible and still have underwhelming results. Like, the fit of Siakam, Trey, and DeJounte is just like, if you just had one of, and I would really, if you just had Trey and Siakam, you didn't extend DeJounte, I think I would like this a little bit more. Just like, okay, like that's something. But like adding all of the, like, just like the weird spacing and like how much those guys generally need the ball to like succeed. And like, yeah, Siakam's going to help you on the defensive end, but like, what are you giving up to get him? Yeah. Like, I don't like it for Atlanta at all.
No. Pascal Siakam, like, part of the reason he's like not traded right now is one, Masai's a sicko. But two, like, he's also like quietly doesn't have like a super great fit in a lot of places, which is why he was like linked to Phoenix so much, because they're like one of the few teams that just has an ungodly amount of like shooters and guys who are like,
and Portland before Dame ass out, because it was just like, sure, why not?
Exactly. And like the, you know, all these other teams, it's like where could Pascal, like, he could probably go to like Brooklyn, but just because they don't have like, you know, any other like things. I
think he would work on the Warriors, but not with Draymond. Like,
that's
the thing is, like, he would be good for the Warriors because he would help a lot defensively, and offensively they don't need spacers at all positions. But like the Draymond Siakam fit would be a little clunky.
Yeah. I mean, if they could somehow trade Gobert for him, that would be ideal for the Wolves. But
that would be interesting. Yeah, but the Raptors would never do that.
The Raptors would never do that. Yeah. However, Gobert, big standing reach. So, something to think about. Yeah,
they have been interested in him before.
Yep.
They might be losing a little bit of their wingspan merchant ways though, because they weren't even interested in Mo Bamba this time around.
Sicko. This is a real crumbling empire stuff. late instead of late capitalism, it's late Messiah lengthism. Yeah, there
lengthism.
We go. Yeah,
wingspanism.
Wingspanism. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't think. I mean, like, Atlanta, I mean, but the thing is that like they've lost the light of God, Travis Schlenk, so I can see why they would be, you know, interested in doing bad moves. Every bad move that Travis Schlenk did was because of ownership, and every good one he did is because he's perfect and beautiful. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's my new line of thinking. I know Atlanta had 3 to 4 very bad trades under Travis Schlenk. However, that was not his fault.
So I have an idea here.
Yeah.
That I just cooked up in the trade machine. And I discussed this. Keep in mind, you can negotiate picks, whatever. Siakam's value is going to be interesting because on draft night, Siakam, they discussed my thought behind this was that they probably had come to an agreement to make a trade for Siakam, or at least they were discussing a trade to Portland. And Siakam, through Chris Haynes, came out and was like, he's not going to sign an extension. And if that's the case, then he has much less trade value.
Yeah.
But if he were to get traded to the Hawks and was open to a extension, that would shift the value a little bit more. And this is what I cooked up in the trade machine for Siakam. So it is, they now have Patty Mills' contract, which is for filler. They can also send Bogdan Bogdanovic, who just signed an extension, AJ Griffin, who they just drafted last year, and Onyeka Okongwu.
I didn't realize Bogdan Bogdanovic signed an extension. Good God.
Yeah.
He's going to be like 40 when that thing is up.
He's only 30, but yeah, his knee's messed up, it sounds like.
I thought he was like 32. I thought he was like way older than you think he is, because he was like 28 when he came into the league or something like that.
I think he's like 30 or 31. I don't think he's that old. Yeah.
I'll find. I'll get to the bottom of this. He's 30. You're correct. Born in 92 though, so he's probably going to be turning
31 this year.
31 soon. Yeah. He's turning 30 in the next month, August 18th. So
this trade is Bogdan, Onyeka Okongwu,
31. Yeah, sorry,
Patty Mills, and AJ Griffin for Pascal Siakam. And Atlanta doesn't have many picks left. I'm sure Masai would try to get some extra. Hawks fans were theorizing that Hunter might be the one included in here instead of Bogdan because of the Raptors' obsession with wings, and also due to the fact that apparently Hunter like wiped everything from his Instagram account, which sometimes means nothing, sometimes means everything. But he apparently removed a bunch of stuff from his Instagram and had like what seemed like a coded like goodbye post that he had posted on there. So you can swap in Bogdan or Hunter, and this trade works. The only reason I included Bogdan and AJ Griffin as the prospects or as the guys going back with Okongwu as like one of the main prospects is because the Raptors just need shooting. If they're going to build around Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby, which is what they want to do, post Siakam, which another report came out about that today, basically confirming that I think they're just going to need to maximize the shooting, and Bogdan and AJ Griffin are going to give you a ton of shooting. Onyeka Okongwu doesn't, but he fits the mold of the kind of guy that Masai likes, and then Patty Mills just makes the money work. So this is kind of the outline of what a trade would look like. What do you think of this?
I mean, yeah, sure. I just think Okongwu is like good. So your starting five again is Capella, Siakam, the two guards, Young and and then
the third guy left is either going to be Hunter or like Bogdan.
That's boy, I really hate that I really hate that starting five, man. Like that's just like that's all guys who, besides Pascal, no one like does extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're tripling down on what makes like the Young and like Murray fit bad. Like who's like good at like, well, I guess Capella's good at like setting screens and like lobs and stuff, but like
rebounding
outside of that, like who's doing like all the, and Pascal will do some of like the extra like dirty stuff, like rebounding. I honestly didn't mean that as like a rapper. I'm talking about like a
player in the face on the other team. Gouging out someone's elbow.
But he'll do like he'll scrap and he'll do all that stuff. He'll do his spin move and do all the other stuff. So like I think it's fine. Brian put one in the chat that I didn't want to consider.
Oh, enough with the fucking Brogdon trades, guys. Enough.
It's Rob. Hold on. And picks.
Rob Brogdon and picks for Siakam.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable how often it's every episode we have to talk about Brogdon trades.
Fine. I'll leave it alone. Fine. However, what if? Anyway, but this is the thing is you look around the league and you're like trying to look for these other like teams that he like hypothetically fits on, and it's tough, man. I mean, maybe what about like the Cavs could trade like Jared Allen and stuff, I guess, but like
sure.
Like
even the Mobley,
stuff, the sweeteners, they just don't have a lot of sweeteners.
They have nothing left. They can't even trade. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. The Pacers were the one that has been floated out there, but they just drafted Jarris Walker. Like, I think they would just keep Jarris. Like, I don't see a trade there happening. That is probably one of the teams he would really work on. But with Jarris being like the seventh, or unless they want to trade him, but I don't think they do. Like, I just think that a lot of the Siakam destinations have dried up due to the fact that the Raptors held on to him for too long, and because he is a weird fit on a lot of teams. And now the teams that could potentially be making an all-in move have already made their all-in moves. Like, they don't have picks left, or they don't have prospects left. Like, the reason why the Hawks are one of the teams is because the Hawks have kind of been primed for a consolidation trade for a while. But the problem is that was the case when they had Kevin Huerter and John Collins, who they basically got nothing back for.
Yeah,
they would have been a great candidate a year ago to do a trade like this, where like
Gallinari walk too, or did they like dump?
They trade. Well, Gallinari was the salary in the DeJounte trade, but that was nothing. I mean, he was just like filler. I mean, I don't know what, but long story short here is that they had the money at least to make those moves work, and they also had the picks at the time. and then they used it on DeJounte, and then they basically gave away Herter for free, and they gave away John Collins for free. And now, like, I think if you're going to double down on this Trae Young, DeJounte Murray thing, just see what you have for a little bit. Like, you're just pushing in all the chips to win 45 games and losing the play-in again. Like maybe you'll get the 5 seed. Maybe you'll make the playoffs and it will be worth it, and you'll lose in the first round to a better team. But like, I don't see this team going anywhere. Maybe I'm underrating how good the fit could be. I don't like the fit at all.
Can I give you another one?
Sure.
Just a 1-for-1 challenge trade.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine for Pascal.
I mean, I think the Bulls might be open to that. I don't think the Raptors would be.
See, that's funny because I actually think kind of the opposite. I think like the Bulls would be more likely to say no. Zach LaVine's like exactly what you want.
Sure.
So
as a play finisher around your other guys.
Well, and the guy who could shoot like a real guard,
the ball a little bit.
Yeah, like I just think that would make like a lot of sense for them. Pascal's like a half year older, you know what I'm saying? But his contract doesn't run as long, so
I think the Bulls just want to get a good player back for Zach and get off the contract. Is my point here.
Yeah,
but I would like that trade more for the Raptors, but I don't think the Raptors would be willing to take on the contract, which they should be. Like, you're not doing anything anyway.
That's what I guess that's what I'm saying. Like you're
I don't get these teams that are so resistant. Yeah, I don't get teams who are so resistant to take on contracts when like you're not winning a title, dude. Like the fuck do you care? Like if you're trading Pascal Siakam, you already lost Fred VanVleet and your whole core of your championship team is now gone.
Yeah.
Then you're done. Like you don't have to worry about like taking back contracts and shit.
Yeah, if the guy that Houston is getting as like their second marquee free agent is Dillon Brooks, and that's like one of like the more. I mean, Toronto's not like Boston or like one of these other or Minnesota or some of these ones where like NBA players really don't want to be, but like it's like but it is like not a top tier like franchise like.
Yeah, to go full Rosillo mode. The taxes are a lot there, and that's part of it too. And also, you have to live in another country, like honestly, most players just don't want to live in Canada. Like most players just want to live. They're from America. They want to live in America. Like that's
right. So I don't know. I think that was like the only trade I could get to where I was like, this kind of makes some sense for both teams. I mean, for the Bulls, it's kind of shuffling deck chairs around.
Sure.
But, I think he fits better with DeRozan than Zach does. So, and Vooch, I think you could be a competent play-in team.
Yeah, and they're like the same tier of player where like they're like the lower end all-star that will, Siakam is probably a little better overall, but Zach probably fits on more teams. So I get it. I think it's going to probably come down to him ending up on the Hawks. The only reason I say that is because the two teams that have been mentioned by Raptors reporters are the Hawks and the Pacers don't make sense anymore. They just got Obi Toppin and they just got Jarris Walker. So like I think that they're going to want to see what they have in those guys before they make a trade like that. Before the draft, that would have made sense. Now they wait. The Raptors once again waited too long. Like all of this comes back to the Raptors waiting too long. They make these trades 2 weeks ago when you can see that Fred VanVleet is leaving and you're not going to get him back. And even if you did, who cares? That's where I think that their indecision, their indecisiveness about all of this really kind of sunk whatever chances they had of optimizing a Pascal Siakam return.
I'm trying. I'm doing my very best to make this work. And I'm struggling a little bit, but I think I've got it.
You can pull it up if you want.
I don't got it. I need a little more time.
What are you trying to cook?
I'm trying to get. I think it's pretty close though. How far off am I financially? Oh, 196K. Okay, never mind. I'm close enough. It's Buddy Hield, Aaron Nesmith, and Jaylen Smith, and like some picks for Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, I don't think the Raptors would do that.
I mean,
Once again, Masai will just let a guy expire. He will not lose a deal for the sake of making a deal. Like, he's just not going to do that. So, like, I think that what I sent might look like a haul to people, but, like, that's what Masai is going to want back, and he'll just let Pascal Siakam expire a year from now, just like he did with Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry and all these guys.
I think just going, what I think this more points towards is why we have the fucking Raptors slop embargo on this goddamn show. Like, that's just, you're like, because he's probably going to say no to any like serious package, you know, like unless Landry Fields is just, I don't know, has the last reformed barbed wire wrapped around himself. There's no way that like that he's going to like make a trade that Masai is going to want. So, I mean, did I get that right? It's Landry Fields that makes basketball calls for them, right? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It's Landry Field, and it's definitely not Tony Wrestler's son.
Okay, gotcha.
The reason why I think if the Atlanta Hawks trade for Pascal Siakam, I think they're going to get fucking rinsed, is because I think that Masai is going to drive a hard bargain, and I think that Atlanta just salary dumped John Collins for basically nothing. They have nothing exciting to sell to their fans, except for Kobe Buffkin, who's a nice player, but like, I would not be super pumped if we just, although I'm sure Hawks fans were over the John Collins experience, but like if we came out of the offseason like, hey, we doubled down on the DeJounte and Trey thing by extending DeJounte, and then we just drafted another guard in Kobe Buffkin.
Awesome.
And that's it. Like what I'm trying to say here is that I think that Wrestler's fail son, who now runs the team, is probably going to make another reactionary kind of all-in on mid move like this. And I think that Masai is going to fucking hold him over a barrel, and he's going to get whatever he wants from him, and he's going to end up probably fleecing him for a guy that might not even want to end up being in Atlanta. But we'll see. If that trade does happen, mark my words, we're going to come out of it on the other side and be like, how the fuck did Atlanta do this? Just like we did last year with the DeJounte trade. But at least I understood with the DeJounte trade, because DeJounte was on a good contract, that I was like, okay, so they're just paying a little bit more because DeJounte only makes $14 million a year. But then they extended DeJounte, which everyone, except for me, thinks that's a great contract. I just don't think DeJounte Murray's that good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, $30 million for the caliber of player that DeJounte Murray is on paper is good. I think that having DeJounte Murray on your team limits what your ceiling is. I don't think he's a guy that fits on most, like, there's a reason why he's never been on a team that's won a playoff series. Maybe one time, maybe his rookie year, but that's it. Like, he's just a weird fit when he's a ball dominant guy that's just like as inefficient as he is.
Yeah. Not to mention when you pair him with Trae Young, like that doesn't like, that's just creating a whole bunch of other problems.
But it's not maximizing either guy, to be honest.
Yeah. The Hawks are a bummer, man. They were so exciting like 3 years ago, and they just seem to have like picked wrong every fucking time they had a decision. Well,
I disagree that they were exciting, but yes.
They were actually evil.
Actually,
what they got rid of Ben Simmons. They got Ben Simmons off your team. So
yeah, I mean, well, that's probably what we should have known, that Schlenk was really desperate to save his job when he was interested in Ben Simmons.
That's true. You were there, man. You saw it. What are you doing?
Yeah, you broke this man.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
He still can't do 5-on-5 drills. It's 2023.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, any summer league thoughts? Anything? I don't have like a ton. I've watched. Like I said, it's good to see Jabari kind of bouncing back after his. Wemby was disappointing in the first game. He looked really good in the second game. I don't think there's much to glean from this.
Yeah. Like, even when guys are bad, like, I would love to be doing a Brandon Miller victory lap, but like, Trae Young was awful in summer league.
Franz Wagner was bad in summer league.
There's like, I just don't think it like matters. You know, it's kind of, it's more just like a networking like excuse for like, everyone to like get together and kind of, you know, do it, which is fine. That's cool. Shout out to many of our compatriots who go to summer league. But I think I just don't think the basketball. I don't think there's much to glean from that. It's fun when you've got like an exciting guy. I do not think Jordan Walsh is going to be a 50% 3-point shooter or whatever.
Yeah, this Matisse Thybulle thing where Matisse for the first month as a Sixer shot 55% from three.
Yeah. I don't think I do not think that's actually going to continue. So I don't know. I don't really have too much to think about. Wemby looks cool. Scoot. I am like Bill was taking his victory lap on Scoot. Bill, the only guy who believed in Scoot Henderson.
Him and Russillo.
It was
him, Russillo, and 5 other people said, don't take Brandon Miller over Scoot. They were the only ones. It wasn't the consensus. The whole fan base wasn't melting down when it happened at their own arena, including their mascot.
Yes. That's kind of talk about like everyone like has there ever been a more everyone knows? Like everyone knows.
It was literally Evan Mobley. It happens every other year at this point. Yeah. It was James Wiseman, then it was Evan Mobley, and now it's Scoot Henderson. Like these are the guys that everyone said were the second best prospect in their class, or in LaMelo's case, arguably the best prospect in his class.
Yeah.
Even Mobley had an argument, but like, pre-draft, we knew that this was going to happen, and like. Once again, I don't take too much from Summer League, especially if you watch these Hornets games, they have inherited the throne of Hooper anarchism from the Houston Rockets. It's just a mess. They don't have they have James Bouknight trying to run their offense, and he's just like very clearly not an NBA player. It's really tough business. Like you got guys who, are just not NBA players lighting it up as well, which happens every year in Summer League where some guy comes in and drops. Like there was a guy, I can't even remember his name. Maybe someone in the comments could tell me, but there was a guard for the Blazers that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I follow this stuff pretty religiously. And I've never heard of this man. And he had like 35 points last night against Wemby and the Spurs. So keep all of this in mind when these guys are struggling in the one thing I will say, and not to do like, I don't want to do like, oh, this guy's definitely going to be good. But Cason Wallace's fit with OKC, you can already see, that's going to work. They run their summer league team very similarly to how they have their regular season team. They just have a bunch of guys who can dribble, shoot, and pass. Yep. They run ball movement stuff. They run a ton of actions. Like they're not just like no structure, nothing. The
opposite of the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, and actual NBA.
Exactly. Yeah. They run a ton of plays. They always have this level of like connectedness, and it helps that they also played both Jaylen Williams early in summer league, and Chet's been playing because he hasn't played basketball in like a year. But Michael DeVoe was his name. Thank you in the comments for that. Michael DeVoe, never heard of him. He had like 35 points last night. So that kind of tells you what summer league's like. But Cason came in and the shot looks incredible, even better than it did in college. He made like 5 threes in the first half of that game and was predictably really good on defense. And then our guy, Brandon Podcast, who has struggled to score a little bit, which I think as a lead guard, I would expect that in he's not the most athletic dude in the world in terms of like creating separation but the passing and the reads that he makes and like the fact that he can shoot a little bit off movement, like he's just going to be such a good guy for that Warrior system.
Yeah. No, he's going to be awesome. I feel like I feel very good about tripling down on Scoot over Miller and like really staking out that position as being anti-Miller. More like I
did that unlike anyone else who was saying Miller over Scoot.
Well, I said Miller was like the 9th best player in the class, which I feel like was a pretty unpopular opinion. So
I had him at 5 at the end of the day. So
he might, and you know what? Him being bad in the summer league doesn't. Again, Trae Young was really bad in summer league. I'm always gonna remember that because I was like, holy fuck, they traded Luka and this guy is like stinking it up in summer league.
Yeah.
Also,
his role is different than what it will be on the Charlotte Hornets, where like a guy like Cason Wallace is playing his regular season role with the OKC Thunder right now. Like he was spotting up mainly, working off the ball, being a connective piece. Like he was doing the things that you would expect from a high level role player. And Brandon Podjemski was trying to run an offense and like do the Warriors kind of do work similarly to their regular season team as well. But like when Podcast runs an offense, it can get a little bit it isn't great in terms of the shots he's creating for himself, but he's also generating a ton of wide open looks for his teammates and making really quick, sharp reads and things that you want to see from a guy who is coming into the league and is going into a system that's really going to work on his strengths. Brandon Miller, he's going to be working off of LaMelo. And I do want to talk a little bit. Just Charlotte is such a fucking mess, dude.
Yeah, really
not only did they make the Miller over Scoot pick, which we both disagreed with, but also like the Miles Bridges thing is gross, which we've discussed.
Yeah,
he's taking the qualifying offer, and now there are reports that PJ Washington might take the qualifying offer.
I don't blame PJ at all, by the way. Absolutely, brother. Get out of there. Why not? They have like the worst vibe. Do you have any idea how horrible vibes you have to have as a franchise to steamroll the font of joy that is Terry Rozier and his good vibes? Scary Terry is like one of the funniest, like most gregarious. I love Terry so much, and he's like got to play on this joyless team. I mean, he's getting a bag, so
he's doing it for obvious reasons. But
I wish Terry was free. I wish Terry was on like a team that actually mattered. I say that, and like the monkey paw finger curls, and he's gonna end up on the fucking Heat.
Oh God, he's in the Dame trade.
If he went to the Heat, I think they might win the title. That's my new thing.
Well,
Dame would hurt them, but they could get Rozier for nothing.
The Heat worked out one of the Sixers' former two-way guys, Lewis King, today. So and he's a big wing who can shoot. So I'm like, oh no, they were gonna do it again.
It's like just hearing that the Moby song from Born Identity, like. Oh God, fucking anyway. Charlotte, huge
Charlotte's
bummer,
a mess, dude.
Yeah, huge.
Book Night isn't an NBA play. They have like 3 or 4 young guys that have some promise. Obviously, LaMelo just signed his max contract. By the way, I want to talk about this real quick because I heard Zach Lowe talk about how Russillo and Bill were saying, well, I would like to see us get to the playoffs before we give you a max to LaMelo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you want LaMelo to drag the Charlotte Hornets to the playoffs? First off, they got to the play-in the 2 years he was healthy, and they're a fucking shit show, dude. Like, they don't have any structure. They've had multiple coaches since he's been there. They run the organization like it's a fucking joke.
You want to know who didn't bring his team to the playoffs? Damian fucking Lillard. How about that? Like that just makes no sense. Like,
there are also plenty of guys that they like that got the max contract extension with never making the playoffs.
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox did not make the playoffs, got the max. And honestly, that looked bad at the time for different reasons. And
I really didn't like that.
And over time, it's turned out to be pretty good. And the Kings would do that again. But my point is they didn't have anything to say about Desmond Bane making it. And I like Desmond Bane a lot. But Desmond Bane is not as good as LaMelo Ball if he's your number 1 guy. And LaMelo Ball is still 21 years old. He turns 22 in a few months. Still 21. He came into the league and was pretty much instantly an all-star. Mm-hmm. And even if he's not going to be the best player on a championship team, or maybe even not even the best player on a contender or whatever, the Charlotte Hornets have no history of success. They have done basically everything wrong. And to say that you're not going to give the guy that, by the way, was the 3rd youngest All-Star in NBA history, you're not going to give him the max extension? What are you going to do? Trade him? The fuck? It just drives me insane when they do this boomer shit.
It's crazy that let's do some case studies. Let's do LaMelo Ball versus Scotty Barnes and how those two guys are being treated right now. like one of them. Let me give you a hint. One of them I would have
led
no
us into
problem.
the playoffs as a rookie, so
I guess that's true. I guess hey.
I mean, he was
You got
also
me
the
there.
third best player on the team.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't the guy.
All these teams we're talking about today like bum me the fuck out. Like I don't like the Charlotte Hornets. I'm not gonna watch a minute of Atlanta Hawks basketball. The Celtics aren't playing in like all year, so it's tough, man. It's really tough.
Yeah, it's honestly outside of the Heat, it's a really depressing division.
Yeah, goddamn, dude. Do they really still have Cody Martin on the team?
Yeah, I mean Cody was injured this past year too, so
wasn't he just on the Heat?
No, that's Caleb. That's his brother.
Oh, Cody. Oh, never mind. You know what? You know who I was not thinking of the Tweens. I was thinking of Cody Zeller, which is what that was what I was like. Wait, didn't I just see him being like?
Speaking of Charlotte Hornets success stories, Cody Zeller wasn't he the 4th pick in the draft?
4th pick, yeah.
Let's go.
I don't think anyone after him was good, so it ended up being not as bad. As,
it was the 2013 draft, right?
Yeah, the 2013 draft, yes.
Which had CJ McCollum, who I was like high on going into that draft, but also I was high on guys that sucked in that draft because that draft sucked.
Yeah. I remember whoever got taken 5, I was like pretty high on.
Alex Len.
Yeah, and I think
then Nerlens Noel was someone I really liked too. He went 6. Yeah,
that's who I actually wanted Ben McLemore there. Remember like Ben?
I like Ben McLemore too. Yeah, he was another one. Yeah.
He was like supposed to be like in the mix for like top 1, and then the Kings got him at 7. I was like, yes, like this is the break the Kings needed.
Exactly.
Sadly,
little did we know that was just a dog shit draft class outside of the guys that went later, Giannis and Gobert.
I still can't believe Ben McLemore didn't make it. He's one of those guys I was like believing in like 3 years ago. Like, hey, Ben McLemore.
You never know. You and Daryl Morey. Oh, by the way, he worked out for the Heat today, Ben McLemore.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And when he was in the 3rd grade, he thought that he was gay.
Jeez. Oh man.
How did you miss that?
I was like downshifting, and I'm like, sounds like that awful guy who sent the text to Kendrick Lamar. Oh yeah, it was that guy. Yeah.
God, his name was Ben.
Was it really?
Yeah, his name is Ben Haggerty, I think.
That's so funny. His name is literally Ben McLemore. Fucking God, dude. God, McLemore. Kids,
2013
when Trill and I were in your 20s, like you guys were, we had some of the most dog shit white rappers you have ever seen. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's like, when you think about the city of Seattle, it's like Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, and then you jump to Macklemore after that,
He'll wear my granddad's clothes.
I was going to say, the years 2011 through 2013 were great for guys named Ben McLemore.
Yeah.
Oh
man.
Really peaked, some would say.
Yeah. Was he Embiid's teammate, or was that the year before?
He was the year before Embiid. Yeah. Right. Okay. Embiid was teammates with Wiggins.
That's right.
And Kelly Oubre.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that too.
And they're going to be teammates again soon, by the way.
Yeah.
Sixers need a bench wing that can score 20 points a game and have the lowest assist rate I've ever seen in my life. Sometimes I just go on dunksandthrees.com and I'll just look at players' assist rates. And I'm like, how low can we get? Do you know what Kelly Oubre's assist rate is? A guy who averaged 20 points a game this past year.
1?
And it's a 5%.
That's still like staggering. Like
5%,
almost impossible.
It might have topped 6%. He averaged 1.1 assists per game and had a usage of 26.
That's awesome. That's fucking awesome. What a king.
That is incredible.
I ain't passing shit.
Yeah, incredible.
Let's go.
Absolutely incredible. Kev's in the comments. He wants to trade DeMar, Patwell, and Dalen Terry for Pascal Siakam. Honestly, Masai might do it for Patrick Williams. He loves Pat. He loves him some. What's Pat Will's wingspan? 7'1". He's got big hands.
DeMar's coming home. You can sell that to the
fan.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Let's get it. Sure. I think any Raptors fan who is still listening, they probably tuned out after we trashed them. Yeah. But If they're still listening, they're probably on suicide watch here.
Yeah, I was gonna say
they really love Pascal. Like he's like one of their guys. So that would be like if I was listening to another podcast and they were like, we should trade Maxey for, I would be like, shrieking. You know,
it's like somebody saying that like that. Let's just give a real harebrained dog shit example. Like somebody telling me that the Celtics should have traded Jaylen Brown for Jabari Smith in the number 4 pick in the draft. As someone who's like very antagonistic to Celtics fans.
Yeah, but hold on. How can we sell Sam on this? You get the 4th pick in the draft, but then you trade back 3 times on draft night to get extra seconds and future firsts, and then you draft Brandon Podcast so the Warriors can't get it.
Okay. All right. No, I'm back in.
Bad idea.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Sure. Brandon Podcast can dribble.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown.
Sure. Oh. Ooh.
Hey,
dribble and pass.
What's up? Interesting. Speaking of prospects, do we want to discuss our favorite Oklahoma City Thunder here?
Yeah, I have them next on the list. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Presti just keeps doing it. He can't stop. He really. I have to thank Sam Presti for providing me with so much slop over the past few years because this man makes more trades than any GM in the history of sports, I think. Like, he makes, and even if they're just like little, like, oh, we traded 3 seconds for a late protected first, there you swap it. Like, there's always like something there. Like, he can always provide you with something. And this past weekend, he added on top. They already acquired Davis Bertans at the draft, so they have Davis Bertans, and then they obviously used they took on that contract to move up 2 spots to get Cason Wallace in the draft from the Dallas Mavericks. And then they took on Victor Oladipo for some seconds later. Okay, Victor Oladipo. And then this past weekend, we learned that they acquired Patty Mills a few days ago. And then they flipped Patty Mills. Our buddy Zian, or someone else, I can't remember who it was, had a theory that the only reason that it was Alex Spears was saying from Down to Dunk and Saturday Slam Jam was saying that the only reason that he thinks that Presti did that trade was to make Raphael Stone look dumb. The trade where they got Ty Washington and Usman Garuba and they took on a 2nd round pick. So they sent out Patty Mills and then they got Rudy Gay, his contract, and they got Usman Garuba and Ty Washington, who the Rockets had to dump to the Hawks in order to open up cap space to sign Brook Lopez, who never went to the team. So they ended up paying Dylan Brooks like $4 million more on his contract because of that, and giving more money to Jeff Green. So long story short here, the Thunder have a stacked fucking roster of 23 players or 21 players right now.
Let's hear them.
So, all right. So I have it broken up into a list here.
Okay.
I have locks to make the team.
Okay.
Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Big Jalen Williams, Dort, Jang, who was their 1st round pick last year, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, and Vasilij Micic, who they also signed from the Euro League. So those are the locks to make the team. Now, after talking with Alex a little bit, he also said he thinks that the guys that are going to make the team are probably Victor Oladipo and Davis Bertans because they make a lot of money. So they would be paying those guys to just, unless they come to some sort of buyout.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
He thinks that it's possible that they end up holding on to Oladipo or definitely Bertans, because
Bertans has another year.
Bertans has the extra year, which is only guaranteed if he plays like 80% of his games, which he's not going to do. So they can just trade that as an expiring basically at the deadline. So they have contract filler for the deadline if they want to make a move between Oladipo and Bertans. So Bertans is pretty much a lock to make it. Oladipo, he's on the bubble, I would say. But still, that's like a lot of guys that are pretty much locks to make the roster.
You're devastating me because I let myself dream for one beautiful second about the Celtics fulfilling Parm's vision of Bertans on a buyout to the Celtics for the Latvian front court.
Oh my God, the Porzingis and Bertans. I mean, it's possible.
If Sam Presti, I also have to do a mea culpa because I was very rude to Sam Presti last year. I thought there was no way in my defense, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander became an MVP candidate and like essentially forced his hand. Like he was like, "Fuck, I can't do this any longer." Like I have to. I can't keep pretending this team is bad. So, he kind of dodged it, but I do have to give up the ghost. Sam Presti, sadly, has gotten away with it again. He's not able, folks. He's on me once again.
Yeah, and he is honestly continuing to kill the draft every year too. I mean, It's easy when you have multiple picks because we'll get to some of the guys they're probably going to have to cut that they've drafted recently, but they have the luxury to be able to just kind of shuffle through guys at this point. So that's 13 guys that are, or 12 guys that are locks to make it. I also missed Lou Dort while reading down that.
No, you did. You said it.
Oh, I said Lou Dort. Okay. So that's 12 guys that are locks. And then you get to the bubble guys, which are Victor Oladipo and Aaron Wiggins. And the reason I had Aaron Wiggins on the bubble is only because he's a wing and they are largely made up of guards and bigs right now. They don't have a ton of like pure wings on the roster, but all their guards are wing sized. So maybe they just set.
Who are their bigs besides Chet?
Other Jaylen Williams, and then they have Jeremiah Robinson Earl is the other one.
Did you say him earlier?
No, he's on the bubble. Yeah, okay. So
that's what I was saying.
I guess they'll probably let Aaron Wiggins go, to be honest, now that I think about it, because they probably would prefer, because they have Usman Garuba as well, who they just got in this trade. So let's figure out which players they're going to end up keeping. Let's move Wiggins to the probably gone section, along with Poku, Trey Mann, Ty Washington, and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. They spent a first-round pick on Poku in 2021, they spent a first-round pick on Trey Mann, and in 2021, they also spent a high second-round pick on Jeremiah Robinson Earl. So I would imagine that most of those guys are gone. It really comes down to, do they prefer to keep Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who was like a fringe rotation guy, 4-5 for them last year, or do they just say, we're going to take a swing on Usman Garuba, who we just got in this trade? And honestly, the thing that they could use the most outside of Chet is a rim protector. And that's like his main thing, I think, is like rim protection. So they might keep it. Usman is still really raw. He's still really young. He's still only 20. And offensively, every time I've watched him, he's really struggled, but also he was in Houston.
Yeah.
So grain of salt, maybe if he's in more of a structure, he can work on offense. And defensively, he has a lot of upside. Like, coming out of the draft, I know Sam Vecini said he was like the greatest pick and roll defender that he's ever scouted. Like, he's like a really crazy good level of defensive guy. So I think I'm going to move Garuba up into the maybe staying section. Like, I feel like that is someone that fills a need, and he's only been in the league for 2 years, so you have him cost controlled for 2 more years if you decide to keep him. And then everyone below that is almost certainly gone. Like, Rudy Gay is certainly gone. Ty Washington is almost certainly gone, who, by the way, he was a rookie. Like, he's probably going to get waived after his rookie season, which for a first round pick,
that's
can you
tough,
ever
man.
Remember that? It's pretty rare.
It's like Josh Primo, and there was like other stuff going on.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was.
Did Seiko de Boyo? Did he get a third year, or did he get a second? I think he got a second year.
I think RJ Hunter got a second year.
Yeah.
He was the other one I was thinking of another.
Seiko de Boyo got a second year, so
that's tough, man. And some of those guys like Robinson Earl, I kind of like, to be honest. Like, I thought he was like pretty good when I was like watching the Thunder. Like, I was like, that's like a real guy. I wonder, like, rather, like, this is a lot of guys to cut. You can't like figure out a deal with, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't like figure out a deal with like a team that's just absolutely starved for like young, like depth help, like the Clippers. Like you can't figure out a way to like get one more, like turn all these guys into like one more first round pick and send them to the Clippers for something.
I don't think you're going to get a first, but you might be able to get like a second or like, and it might even be like a Mickey second where it's like top 50 protected or whatever. But like, I think that they're going to make a lot of trades over the next few weeks. Mainly, I actually think it's the opposite direction where I think it's going to be less about teams that are looking for young talent and more for teams that are looking to save money and avoid the aprons, because these guys are all on contracts that are cheaper than the veterans minimum now. Like, Ty Washington has a late first round contract. He's making like $2 million a year. Jeremiah Robinson Earl's making like $2 million a year. Like, there are guys that are going to be valued by teams because, hey, maybe they're a fringe rotation guy for us and they're making $1 million less than that veterans minimum if we just went out and we signed Christian Wood or whoever's out there.
I'm trying to think of like who could, I guess the Warriors, like
sure.
Filling out their
I think they might even have a full roster right now. The teams that I like, the Sixers have 2 open spots on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
I think do the Celtics have a full roster?
No, I don't think we do. I think we have 1 open spot because
there are a few teams with like 1 or 2 open spots, and I'm sure with more trades we'll get guys getting waived and stuff. Yeah. But like, I think it's probably going to end up being those kind of trades that you're looking at, like where it's like the Sixers got Jeremiah Robinson Earl for like I said, like a cash or like a second round pick just to be like an end of the bench big-ish, like 4 or 5 for them.
Yeah.
Or Ty. I personally would like the Sixers to take a flyer on Ty Washington. I still think he was a little older for a one and done prospect. So he's 21. He might end up being 22 soon, but he's got really good touch. He showed some things defensively in college. I didn't really watch him that much this last year, but he's got great floater touch. The thing with him is like, if he can't shoot threes, there's no way he can play in the NBA, but I think he's going to eventually extend out his range. And he was just like the 25th pick in the draft last year. Like, I knew people who had like a top 20 grade on him. Like, I'd be pretty surprised if there aren't teams around the league that are willing to take a flyer on some of these young guys. Trey Mann's a guy from the 2021 draft that like he might just not be an NBA player, but I'm sure there could be a team that might be willing to take the chance on him. Like, I feel like there are a lot of guys like that on this OKC team, and they're just going to have to either cut or trade some guys that might end up being good because they have so many picks.
This gets back to like they're like not moving fast. Like they need to do expansion, man. Like that. Like these guys are like not bad. Like if Jeremiah Robinson Earl's like out of the league, like that's not the end of the world. But like I think that guy's an NBA player. Like I've watched that guy play. You know what I'm saying? Like the league can sustain. This isn't like the last time you did extensions like with the Bobcats. There's also a lot of guys of like Jeremy Grant's caliber who like probably shouldn't be your franchise player, but can be like a fun guy to watch on a bad team. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I think they need to bring the Sonics back and, you know, make the Las Vegas to human traffickers or whatever they're going to call that team. Like, so
the Las Vegas $1 billion spheres.
Yeah. The Las Vegas Eye of Sauron.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
What is that thing? Is it a globe, a sphere? Fuck is that thing, dude?
All I know is KOC loves it. So
of course,
I know it's
awesome.
What do you think is just zagging on whatever KOC says?
The $2 billion globe in the middle of fucking the strip that we can put advertisements on it. It uses more energy than fucking Topeka, Kansas. Awesome.
But hey, it looks pretty cool.
It does look cool.
It looks pretty cool. So yeah,
we definitely need it. It's definitely a thing that we need in our society. Yeah. But no, like I think that what's going to end up happening here is like I'm also getting to the point where I'm looking at like the guys who are a lock to make the team, and I'm like, soon they're going to have to like move some of these guys. Like Lou Dort is probably going to get traded at some time in the next year or two. Oh my God, I totally forgot about Kendrick Williams.
Well, that's what I thought you didn't know if you said Kenrich Williams or not. Like,
but he's like their Haslam.
yeah, like he's like Mr. OKC.
He wants to be, but apparently Mike Muscala said the same thing, and then they traded him to the Celtics.
Yeah, and then we let him walk, so it wasn't even like we were like dying to get him. You know,
Yeah.
we were just getting under the tags. But
yeah, I'm looking at Kendrick Williams is probably a lock to make the team too. So that's all right. Hold on. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to hypothetically say Oladipo makes the team because Alex's theory on they want to have expiring contracts for the deadline. I'm just going to theorize that.
Maybe,
okay.
Maybe. Okay.
All right. Ready? So we have Giddey. That's 1. Shea. That's 2. Holmgren. That's 3. Isaiah Joe. That's 4. Jaylen Williams 1. That's 5. Jaylen Williams 2. That's 6. Dort. That's 7. Jang. That's 8. Cason Wallace. That's 9. Micic, that's 10. Kendrick Williams, 11. Bertans, 12. Oladipo, 13. So you're talking about 2 roster spots for a ton of guys.
These guys can't be like converted to 2 ways either. You know, like these are like guys who just have
these are all guaranteed contracts under their books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm making that point just in case anyone's listening and is like, oh, there's 17 spots, 2 2-way spots.
Yeah. But at a certain point, though, maybe they just trade Kendrick Williams because it's like we just have like they still have more picks.
Good God, is that Nihilist Bucks music?
Oh God, how much does Kendrick Williams make? Like $8 million a year, $7 million a year, or something like
that. Yeah.
Hold on.
Do they have anyone who could grace it?
I'm now looking up Kendrick Williams' contract. This is real sicko hours.
He's gonna be going to the Milwaukee Bucks for Grayson Allen.
$6.6 million with a team option in 2 years.
Grayson Allen makes 8.9. Just saying.
Let's go. That's why. Well, Nihilist Bucks' new thing is he's convinced they're getting Colin Sexton, which is why they signed. So. Do you remember on draft night when Shams kept tweeting like Chris Livingston is not going to get drafted because he has a promise in the 2nd round, and everyone's like, why do you keep tweeting about this? And then Chris Livingston went with the last pick in the draft to the Bucks, and then they gave him a 4-year contract with the first 2 years guaranteed, which is the biggest contract ever for a 2nd rounder, and he was the last pick in the draft. And like, I don't think Chris Livingston's an NBA player. Maybe I'm wrong, but like the NB's theory on is that they're giving him this favor. They're giving Clutch this favor, and then at a certain point they're going to acquire Colin Sexton, who's a Clutch guy.
But why do you have to do Clutch a favor to?
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, you still have to trade for him.
Yeah, it's just like Clutch doesn't have anything to do with the. The agents, I just think maybe I'm just too stupid and I'm like outside this and I just don't understand things how things are. I don't understand why agents come up so often. If I were an NBA player and I was like hearing people talk about, well, yeah, like his agent, though, they might do this favor. I'd be like, wait, what the fuck? I'm getting less money because you got owed you work for me. Why are you like deciding when I'm taking a discount? Fuck you. Like,
sure.
Why do agents have anything to do with that? Like, that's so crazy to me. I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand how things work and how. But if I would be pissed if I were like a player and I was like, well, you know, they took care of Colin Sexton, so now Sam Sheehan is going to take a discount. I'd be like, no, bullshit, I'm taking a discount.
Well, I feel like usually it's like, hey, let's give this guy a 2-year guaranteed contract, and then I'll muscle the Utah Jazz into sending Colin Sexton to you for try to make it so that you're getting back much less. You're giving up much less in that deal. But the more I thought about that, the more I'm like, Danny Ainge runs the Utah Jazz. He doesn't give a fuck about that.
Yeah, no.
He might just want to get off the Sexton contract, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I guess.
Think about their draft. They drafted Keontae George and they drafted Bryce Sensabaugh. Like, they drafted 2 bucket-getting guards. Like, Colin Sexton probably doesn't have, at least in a year from now, probably doesn't have a huge role on the Jazz.
They also doesn't Jordan Clarkson still play for them too? Like,
yeah, they gave Jordan Clarkson a raise this year, and then they extended him off of that.
That's very funny. But I just don't think they're gonna. I think that because wasn't Colin Sexton, wasn't he a sign-in trade to make the Mitchell
Yes.
trade work? So
Yes.
yeah, he was like literally just getting paid off of.
He was a throw-in. At the time, we were like, oh, maybe he's the upside play. But the real upside play was Laurie Markkanen. We just, because he was I think he was a year or two older than Sexton, so we didn't even think of that.
I don't think like Karis LeVert is like that much better than like Colin Sexton. This is a hot take, but I'm kind of Colin Sexton pilled like a little bit, but like
LeVert's actually, I think LeVert's defense is quite a bit better just because of his size and his general. But Sexton is a fine. Like if Sexton went to the Bucks, he would be a cool sixth man for them.
Yeah, sure, he'd be fine. Yeah, exactly.
And I do wonder if them getting Malik Beasley for the veterans minimum makes them think that they could just trade Grayson Allen for whatever, because Beasley's probably going to play a similar role to Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
And then if you get Grayson Sexton, Allen, then you
better defender than Beasley, probably not. Like they're pretty similar.
Yeah,
he's a little bit better. He's like a little bit better. He's like a little bigger, but I don't know.
I don't know if I was going to say I don't know if Malik Beasley can play in the playoffs, but I don't know if Grayson Allen can either. So I don't really know what the difference is when you're kind of stacking them against each other. But yeah, I think that if I'm a team, I'm interested. I mean, Kendrick Williams would be interesting for a team that needs wing depth. You know, he's got like
there's a ton of teams like that.
Yeah, I mean,
your Sixers would love to have Kendrick Williams. I feel
did he play the 3 at all this year, though? I mean, maybe it's just because they're a smaller team. He had to play the 4. I know he used to play the 3.
I think they had, because they had like no bigs, man. Chet was out. Like I think Robinson Earl started at center for them a lot, if I'm remembering correctly. And he's like 6'8", isn't he? Like,
he's not big at all.
Yeah,
he's not big at all.
They had like no fucking centers this year.
He did play, and he still played small forward for them. He played 39% of his minutes at small forward. Before this year, he was mostly a small forward, actually. And we talk about and he is listed as a small forward and a power forward. So we talk about the rarity of having any playable small forwards nowadays. Mm-hmm. The one thing with Kendrick is that he's just not like he can shoot threes. He's like a league average 3-point shooter, but he's not a super willing one. But you know, you can live with it. Like, you know, he shoots 4.5 threes per 36. He's a good defender. He's a smart player.
4 per 36 for his career on 35% shooting. So
wow. So Furkan Korkmaz for Kendrick Williams is in the works right now.
Yeah, it's happening.
Amazing.
Right now.
Wow, we figured it out. And then they'll just waive Furkan. It would save the money. He makes $5 million. But if Kendrick really is their like Udonis Haslem and they'll just like carve out a spot for him, then it means that one of these young guys is just going to get cut. I'm banking on Garuba being the 14th guy that makes the roster. I think that was the one guy in the trade that they picked up that they like. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say that one of the other guys that they drafted, whether it's Poku or Trey Mann or Jeremiah Robinson Earl, is the last roster spot. Aaron Wiggins is another guy that like I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on, but like, I mean, Sixers need wings. So
I would keep Robinson Earl the most of those guys. I understand Garuba, like you want the upside swing, but like, doesn't that still only like, if they keep both of those guys, Robinson Earl and Garuba, isn't that still just like 3 or 4 bigs and power forwards?
They don't have bigs.
They don't have bigs. So I think Robinson Earl and Garuba are the guys they're going to keep. And that's another reason they're going to
6'8". Like I know he has a big wingspan, but like he's not a.
It's just Chet.
Yeah.
That's why I kept trying to get like Wemby to the fucking to the Thunder, like in our like draft thing, like Chet and however many picks it takes. But I don't know. I think that they're I mean all of those guys I would like take a shot on, even like Poku. I mean
fuck it. Who's gonna take Poku?
Who's claiming Poku off waivers?
The
Spurs.
What's his wingspan? I was gonna say the Spurs. He fits the Spurs, sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the Raptors because of the wingspan, but
He is huge. I'm very interested to see. But yeah, I think that I'm gonna say Garuba and Robinson Earl are the guys who make it. So final answer. I don't think Depot. I don't know. I think they're gonna stretch Oladipo. I don't think that
they don't really stretch. They just waive guys. Like they either buy them out or waive them.
Yeah,
because they just eat the cap hit that year instead of stretching it across multiple years.
If you're someone who believes in helping agents out, like that is a helping out an agent move to buy a guy out and get him his money, but then also get him the fuck out of Oklahoma City. Like
he's already played there before too. He had that 1 year he played there.
Yeah, I always remember that because he had that really bad injury closing out in the corner. Do you remember that when he hit his head?
Yeah.
And I just remember he was in a. That's so funny. Remember the Paul George trade was Sabonis.
Bad trade for the Magic, dude.
God damn, dude.
The Magic.
Ibaka? It was Ibaka.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to track back is so this is how the trade went for the Magic. The Magic traded Serge Ibaka the Magic traded for Serge Ibaka. They sent Domantas Sabonis and Victor Oladipo to the Thunder.
The pick that became Sabonis, I think.
Sure. Right? They flipped. They drafted for OKC and then they drafted. Yeah. And then they traded him on draft night. So Sabonis and Oladipo to the Thunder for Serge Ibaka. Okay, ready? They trade Serge Ibaka for Terrence Ross. Who cares? Terrence Ross. All right, so they trade Serge Ibaka for Terrence Ross.
Was Serge on the championship team, by the way, or was that the year after?
Serge was on the Raptors championship team. Yes.
Okay. Yep. So
I know this because he hit like 5 threes in Game 7 when no one could score on the Raptors. It drove me fucking insane. And so the Thunder then took those two guys and they packaged Oladipo and Sabonis after 1 year, traded them to the Pacers for Paul George. They had Paul George for a few years.
One of the most world beating. That was like one of the worst trades of all time. That ended up being about equal value. Crazy.
Oladipo made 2 All-Star teams. Sabonis made 2 All-Star teams. Then they flipped him for Halliburton.
All NBA too.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah.
And then they traded. Then they got Paul George on the Thunder. He plays there for 2 years. They get the extension out of him. Presti works his magic and gets SGA and 7 first-round picks. So he turns Serge Ibaka, who was like 28 at the time,
into SGA and 4 picks and 3 swaps. Is that what it is? Oh God, dude.
Yeah.
He can't.
I think it was even more because they got a Heat pick. That was Trey Mann that didn't work out, but they also got the pick that became Jaylen Williams, which absolutely worked out from the Clippers. That was the Clippers pick that they took there.
Oh, man.
And then moving forward, and by the way, I think one of those picks, if I remember correctly, they spun. Şengün was one of those picks, and they spun it for 2 firsts from the Rockets, but then they ended up trading those 2 firsts for the Ousmane Dieng last year in the draft to the Knicks. So, but now they own all of the Rockets picks, all of the Clippers picks. One of these teams is bound to be shitty for the next few years. And we're going to be having this conversation again next year where they traded one of these like decent rotation players for not much, I feel like.
Yeah. He did it. He's really done it.
They're going to be so good, dude.
Yeah, they're going to be. I'll say that. I think they're making like the real playoffs. They're going to. I don't think they're making. I don't think they're going to be a play. They might be like a 7-seed play-in team.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be more in that 7, 6, maybe even 5 range than some of these other like. I don't think they're going to be like a play-in, a bottom feeding.
I think they're making the leap next year, and the West is still really deep, but their roster is going to end up being deep enough that like they can survive the.
Yeah, they're going to be better than like I'm going to like them like better than like the Lakers, like who made it
over the regular season.
Yeah. I'm gonna like them. I'll probably like them better than the Kings, even though I'm a Kings guy. Like the Kings are due for some major fucking regression. with their health and shooting differences. Like God knows what's going on with the Warriors, like what the Warriors are going to look like with Paul, like, and how, he could be injured and they could be worse. Like,
I think having depth is going to be really important just in general for the regular season moving forward.
Yeah, it kind of always is.
It always is, but like having they're going to have 11 guys that you're like, oh, those are rotation players. And then they also have the stars on top of it with Jaylen Williams, SGA, potentially Giddey and Chet, depending on where they go. It might get to the point where we're they're starting 5 guys that if they were on other teams could be in the all-star conversation kind of thing. Like if they were able to juice their stats on other teams.
Yeah. It's going to be, I think they're going to make, I'm going to be pretty big on them. I do not think they're going to be I think they're still going to get smushed by some of the top teams like the Nuggets. And I think even the Suns are probably still clear at this point, even though it scared the shit out of me.
Well, I've been thinking with these expiring contracts, if they keep Oladipo and they keep Bertans, that's almost $30 million of expiring contracts at the deadline.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what they're going to put in the Giannis trade in 2 years. So is Giddey and Chet in there? You got to showcase those guys before Giannis asks out. So
true. Presti after all these years. We talked about it in the 2013 Resloppables, and we were how did Presti not draft Giannis? Still one of the weirder, if you look at the obsession for him for that time period, it was all athletic guys, high upside guys, long wingspan guys.
I've got an idea on this. I bet there was a guy hired under Presti the next year who's his length pervert, his size queen, so to speak.
Well, we talked about this because when I had Alex on and we talked about OKC's drafting strategy.
Yeah.
He thinks that guy that was the crazy length, athleticism dude was Troy Weaver. Because if you look at the Thunder's draft record between when Weaver was hired and when he left for OKC, all of those picks were raw toolsy guys, including Hamidou Diallo, who he then picked up in Detroit.
Oh, no.
And then all of these second draft guys, all these guys that the OKC at one point was doing second draft guys. They were just picking up guys that were probably not anything, but they were just signing them because they didn't work out on their first team. And ever since he got to Detroit, that's all Troy Weaver's been interested in. And he loves a toolsy James Wiseman,
That's my deepest NBA wish for a team not involving the Celtics is for the Detroit Pistons to have a real fucking team. Those poor fucking fans, man. They don't deserve this. This is so cruel and fucked up.
Before we get out of here, can we just talk about who's gonna? Because I think the Rockets thing's gonna be kind of shitty, but they're probably still gonna win 30 games at least. And
somebody's losing games.
That's what I'm saying. Someone's losing games. Can we talk about the team? Let's just pick 5 teams we think are going to be the cellar dwellers next year.
I don't. So I don't want to be held to this until I can see the full team.
Sure.
Just right now,
Washington's the obvious one.
Washington is the obvious one. They're the number one. I think the Jazz are probably still going to be pretty stinky, even try as Will Hardy might. I don't think they're going to be very good. I think that this might be the year they punt on. They get a crazy offer for Lauri Markkanen and then just go in the.
They're going to be playing a lot more young guys too. Hendricks is going to play real minutes next year. Keontae George is going to play real minutes. If Bryce Sensabaugh can ever get healthy, he'll play real minutes. They're probably going to trade some. I think that the Paul Reed thing indicates more so that they're going to trade Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah,
I talked about this on the stream. I was like, Kelly Olynyk, you can't just have Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler, Paul Reed, Lauri Markkanen, Kelly Olynyk. You can't just have John. They just picked up John Collins. That's 6 bigs. at a certain point they're going to have to trade Kelly Olynyk, and I think it's probably sometime this year.
Yeah, I think right now, if you gun to my head, I would probably pick Hornets, Pistons, Wizards, Jazz.
Yeah, and then there's usually one team that falls and has like a shit year. I'm
Bulls are kind of.
I'm going Raptors.
I don't know. I'm not ready to go there yet. Well, Nurse, they did lose Nurse.
New coach.
Yeah.
Who wants to install developmental shit, and more importantly, they said that they're going to try to run their offense through Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby, and there aren't two worse guys to run your offense through in the modern NBA.
Yeah,
OG Anunoby cannot dribble, dude. You can't run an offense through OG Anunoby. Scotty Barnes is not going to generate high quality enough shots. It's just their space is going to be fucked, and if they lose Siakam, their defense is going to be worse.
Yeah. No, I mean, if they trade Siakam for sure, they're definitely the pick. I'm just going off of right now.
Sure.
I think Siakam drags them to competence if he stays there.
I trust the Bulls' baseline competence with what they did this offseason more than I trust the Raptors next year.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, Bulls did have.
Depends on what Craig Jordan was a good vet minimum signing. Javon Carter was a solid pickup.
That's true. But yeah,
I don't think their problem was really depth, though. That is the one.
I think there's only 4 teams that are super obvious, and it's going to depend on who pulls the plug to sell of this Bulls, Pistons. Another sneaky one that might be kind of stinky until they figure out what they're doing is the Nets. The Nets might not actually be super good. They might,
especially if they trade for Tyler Hero.
yeah, that'll hurt. The Nets, I mean, and that's fine, by the way. They're gonna trade they've got a billion guys to trade. They're retooling around bridges. That's not the end of the world. I'm not slandering the Nets.
They're gonna be bottom 10, but we are just afraid of Will. But Will would agree with us. So
yeah, I was gonna say, Blazers once they trade Dame are also gonna be very stinky.
Oh, the Blazers! I forgot about the Blazers. Yeah.
So. But I also really like Scoot. So
I do like Scoot.
Yeah, I think that
when was the last rookie guard?
Rookie
that runs an offense at 19 years old and makes the playoffs. It just doesn't happen.
But that said, I do really like Scoot. So J.R. Smith, young J.R. Smith,
Sharp.
Yeah.
So no slander.
No slander. Hey, J.R. Smith's a great player. Had a really long career on a championship team.
Yeah.
On some really good teams. He's been on more good teams than I was going to say than Kobe Bryant was, but a little bit of a lie. It's a little bit of a lie. I can't quite go there.
You can't slant. You can't. That's too much. I was going to say no. Isn't your argument that he was a good team's merchant?
Kobe Bryant?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He always played with guys better than him, and then is it the Tyler Hero? Yeah, it'd be like if you said Tyler Hero was the reason the Miami Heat team, Miami Heat run was good. Yeah, I mean, I guess he did take a lot of the shots. Sure.
We're 2 hours in, so I can allow it to keep this in.
Yeah, big shot. Big shot. Bob was doing all the Jimmy Butler heavy lifting, and Kobe Bryant's out here.
Robert Horry. Role player, I think not.
Derek Fisher was was the guy.
Respect Rick Fox.
Meta. Let's get Meta World Peace in there. He was hooping that 2010. God, he hit so many threes against the Celtics. I just remembered that and got white hot rage washing over me. Meta World Peace at 4 threes in that fucking game 7. God damn it.
That's why he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let's wrap it up here.
Okay.
It's been over 2 hours and we're talking about Kobe. So
yeah, we talked about Kobe. We talked about 9/11.
We hit all the spots.
Yeah, we hit them all.
Checklist. This is good.
We had one other bad one that I can't remember right now, but I'm sure I'll hear about tomorrow. So
peace.
Can tell it's the off.